Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen.
And I'm John Johnson.
And you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are continuing our Crisis Saga, our DC Crisis Saga. We have, if you haven't been following along, we just read Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was from the 80s, and that was supposed to like fix continuity for DC and make everything nice and easy, all on one Earth and everything, and it kind of did, but it kind of didn't. And then Infinite Crisis kind of was like, well, DC's been kind of dark over the last couple years, 15 years or so. Let's try to
scramble that up a little bit.
Yeah, let's try to make it lighter a bit, and or like let's have a story based around that, like how DC has had a lot of its main characters, like Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, who like went crazy after Coast City was blown up, and went bad and turned into Parallax and killed a bunch of Green Lanterns and stuff, and then like how Superman died, and then how we saw in Identity Crisis that we read. How they were okay with like brainwashing or like lobotomizing bad guys and also other heroes and stuff, just to suit their needs, and then stuff like that. So basically, that's kind of what this is about. It's like some people who we will talk about when the story goes on think that the world needs to be split apart again because they need to find a better, at least they need to pick and choose from the multiverse's better Supermen and women and Wonder Woman and all those people and make a better Earth.
Yeah, it's. So. I mean, there's some really dark, evil undertones in this of like, yeah, let's just pick the best. Like, I'll take a little sprinkle from this world, a little bit from this world.
And, and then fuck everybody that lives there and
like,
kill them.
Whatever happens, they die or they can just kind of assimilate like the other ones did, where they didn't have a story. And they're just there.
They're just there. They just
don't know
disappear.
Who they are, but they just like
okay. Yeah, so it's kind of fucked up, but in a really good way, because I know me and you were talking about this. We enjoyed this like 1,000% more than Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Oh, yeah. No, this is my favorite one that
we've read so far.
Crises.
Right. This is technically, as I was telling John, there's only 3 official Crisises, which is Crisis on Infinite Earth, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis. And then there's like a couple middle, smaller. They have the word crisis in there, but they aren't really hard hitting. They're not like about the multiverse and stuff, So they're not as big, So the only one that kind of was in the 90s, and that's when Hal Jordan became Parallax, and he, redeems himself and throws himself in the sun and kills himself and becomes a Spectre. That was called 0 Hour Crisis or whatever, and it was like, maybe if people liked it more, they would have been, maybe they'll consider it part of canon, but more people just say, yeah, we didn't like that, so it's not really part of this thing. And then same with Identity Crisis, the word crisis is in there, but it's such a contained just Justice League story that it's not really a crisis like all encompassing Earth moving thing or whatever. But they do mention it in this, and it does have an effect on this Infinite Crisis story.
Yeah. So
and then there's one that came out a couple years ago called Crisis and
Crises.
Something. Heroes in Crisis, which I did not read, and I have heard is not great, and so I think it's going the 0 hour way, where it's just forgotten, and like, oh, we didn't mean for that to be anything, and so but yeah, that was a smaller book too. So anyway, back to Infinite Crisis. So I told John, I was like, okay, we're gonna read the 8 chapter book, or the 8 issue book, Infinite Crisis, but I also want you to read, just for us, and we'll go through a little bit of this just so catch the viewer or the listener up. But I also wanted to read Countdown to Infinite Crisis, which was like a big one shot issue that like sets up Infinite Crisis. And so what happens in that is there's something going on, and Ted Kord, Blue Beetle, who was introduced. If you follow along, Crisis on Infinite Earths introduced Blue Beetle into the DCU because he was from a different company originally, along with him and the Question and Captain Atom, and they got like grandfathered in through Infinite Crisis into being part of the main DCU. And so that's where you get like really fun runs of, you get like the hero team up of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, and they're on the Justice League International, which is one of the best Justice Leagues, which we will read for sure after this sometime. But it's one of my favorite Justice Leagues because it's literally like the B Team and Batman. And then Martian Manhunter, Batman, and then the rest of everybody. You're like, who
are these people?
Yeah, so it's a fun, like it's kind of a comedy Justice League, and then and so like you get Blue Beetle. He doesn't really do that much in the DC universe like throughout the last 20 years, but he has like a following. And he has there's like a good chemistry of him and Booster Gold, and they team up a lot, and they're buddies, and there's like people like them together, So they definitely have a fan base. So they are beloved characters, and that does not bode well for Ted Kord in this in this issue of Countdown to Infinite Crisis, because Ted Kord, he's like for those of you who don't know, he's like a Batman character. He's a human who has a bunch of money. He does not have powers. He the original Blue Beetle from the 30s and 40s. He had powers, but then Ted Kord, I guess, knew him but never got powers. He's just like, hey, I'll just take the mantle over, and I have a bunch of money, and I'm pretty smart, so I'll make a bunch of gadgets and just like Batman does, and like solve crimes and shit. So that's all he does. And so he's detectiving around, and he's seeing something's weird. There's people embezzling money through my company and through Bruce Wayne's company, and something's going on. It's like Project OMAC, and he's having money problems because of this and stuff, and it's weird. And he tracks it all down, and it's funny because he's Blue Beetle, he's like a B team guy or like a C or D team guy. No one really pays attention to him. He's trying to tell all the rest of the Justice League hey, something's going on here, and everybody's like, all right, Blue Beetle, pat on the head,
yeah. When he was in was it a little fight, and then he's resting in the Justice League headquarters, and Wonder Woman's talking to him. He's and she's trying to convince her, and she's like, okay, sure. He's like, and I love. He's like, everybody loves Diana. I mean, even Batman. But she still doesn't believe me.
Yeah. I thought that was funny because he's so smitten with her. It's funny, in his head. Because also the one thing that was great about this issue was, even though it's a little long, it has it's just Ted Kord, Blue Beetle thinking the whole time. So you have his thoughts the whole time. There's a good run through of everything. So yeah, it's got a pretty fast read, even though a lot of stuff happens in it. And what he finds out that no one believes is that there's something called OMAC. That's he doesn't know what it is, but it has to do with Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord, you may know from the new Wonder Woman movie. He's a name that John probably just found out from the Wonder Woman movie.
I watched Wonder Woman over the last weekend, and then I'm like, oh wow, he's in this. Cool.
Yeah, I was like, perfect. It'll move perfectly into this. And so Maxwell Lord, he has suggestive powers in this DC universe, so he can persuade you and shit, which works as him being a businessman or whatever. Yeah. And so but he's following Blue Beetle, following him, and basically he's trying to kill Blue Beetle, and every time he does, someone else gets hurt or something else blows up, and he hasn't been able to successful until basically Ted Kord tracks down where OMAC is, this program called OMAC, which I can't remember what it stands for, but it's an acronym, a government acronym, like CIA. It's OMAC. It used to be something else. It was a one-man army corps is what OMAC used to be, but now it's Omni Correctional or something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but it's basically just, there's a system that has been I guess he's infected humans with some kind of virus that can be activated that turns them into superhero killers. And it's basically a way for the superheroes to be kept in check, because Maxwell Lord also working with Amanda Waller, who is the Suicide Squad lady. They run like this government organization called Checkmate, and a couple other programs that have always been used to kind of, they're like a backup in case the heroes go bad for like the government. And so the Suicide Squad is one of those, because you're like, oh, the bad guys will fight the good guys if we want them to, so let's use them to at least protect us potentially. And then also you have Checkmate, which is another program that's kind of like CIA-ish. And then you have OMAC, which is, we're going to turn people unknowingly into these like badass organisms that can fight. They get like a blue skeleton with like this big eye, and they basically become superhuman robots kind of thing. Yeah. And they just start shooting people that are attacking stuff. So, and we see that not only did Batman know about this program, because like Blue Beetle goes to him, he's like, don't worry about it, Blue Beetle. But it turns out Batman actually was the one who kind of set it up, because he's like, it had all the information. Batman always has like a contingency plan in case Superman goes bad. So he had a contingency plan in case any hero
goes bad. Yeah.
And he had like all these cards on him and stuff and everything. So Batman was actually in on it.
Has their secret identities, has their like ultimate weaknesses, and
yeah. Batman in this is not the ultimate super detective. He doesn't notice that something is also wrong with OMAC that he did not program. And so in that, he like lets something slip by, which is bad. Basically, it gets out of his control, but he doesn't know that yet. And so it's a little bit of a different take on Batman, because as of like the last 15 years, Batman is like infallible.
Yeah, nothing exactly. Like, you think something gets by him, and he's like, you find out like 2 or 3 pages later, no, because he already had a way to stop that too.
Yeah, and so like, I mean, that's cool to a certain extent, but sometimes it's nice for him to have, like, he's got to fuck up sometimes, like when Jason Todd got killed or whatever, because you got to have like things happen where he's like, I need to be better or whatever. It kind of drives him. Every time he fucks up, it drives him further into his this is why I'm needed kind of thing or whatever. So, so Batman was in on this OMAC project, but it has, unbeknownst to him, grown out of his original scope on its own, seemingly. And Maxwell Lord is kind of behind it, along with someone else who we will talk about later. And Ted Kord, like we said, the Blue Beetle, is on this trail. So after a couple times of him almost getting killed and like people attempting to kill him and whatnot, they accidentally like blow up Booster Gold, who doesn't die, but he just gets injured. And a couple other areas and stuff get blown up and whatnot. So he figures out, okay, I'm gonna like confront Maxwell Lord. I figured out it's him. It's got to be this guy. He goes and looks up. He goes like Maxwell Lord's castle. I didn't know he had a castle.
Something like the Swiss Alps.
Yeah, and he breaks in. And he's like talking to himself, and then he's like, "There it is," or whatever. And then Maxwell Lord's like, I got you. I knew you were gonna be here. And so before, like there's like a back and forth. He doesn't like, no struggle happens right away, but eventually it leads to Maxwell Lord shooting Blue Beetle in the head and killing him. Yeah. Like straight up, just blows his brains out.
And it was a weird setup. They're having this back and forth, and there's a little bit of like aggression to it. And then Kord says, like, I'm the second Blue Beetle, and there will be a third. And then there's that little bit of a tussle, and then he gets shot in the head. And I'm like, oh, like he like knew this was he was coming too. Like was
there's something weird. Somehow he knew something was gonna happen. But and so that's what the big thing that happens in Countdown Countdown to Infinite Crisis. Is because Blue Beetle gets killed, and also in between Countdown, this is on a different issue, but I thought it was in this little one shot, but it's in another one shot apparently in between, where Wonder Woman finds out, because she was the only one that kind of believed Ted Kord, so she finds Max Lord and kills him, breaks his neck,
snaps his neck.
Yeah, and so like,
and it's like on, in front of people and on
it's
TV.
on like live video cameras or some shit. So like everybody sees this picture of like her snapping Maxwell Lord's neck, and he's just a human, they think. and so they're like, wow, these heroes have got a little crazy or whatever. So that's the setup to Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis.
And so, like I said, this is 8 issues, and it's pretty dense. There is a lot of story going on, so we're gonna like kind of click through, like, you know, we're not gonna hit every beat, kind of like how we did with Infinite Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earths. We can't name everything that happens.
No.
So if we miss something, you know, if it sounds interesting to you, check this one out. We actually do recommend this one as a read, even if you haven't read Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you listen to our episode, you will at least know what happens, so you could read this. So, so
I think you could get the gist of it. I mean, there would be a little bit, but like, oh, okay, some stuff happened before. But I mean, I still think you could probably read this one.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, you would have to know the setup of who the bad guys are, I think, though.
Yeah.
Or else you'd be like, wait, who are these people?
That's true.
So I think, and that is all at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, so yeah, basically this issue starts with.
But this is Jeff Johns.
It's written by Jeff Johns in 2004, I believe. This is like the year before I started working in the comic book store, and it was like right after this, like I didn't even know this happened right before. So, but right after this, like the 52 happened, which is like another thing we'll read, and then Final Crisis happens, and like the Green Lantern Corps Wars and all this cool stuff happened. So this is like heyday, like in the 90s there was a big comic book crash, and then in the 2000s there was a big comic book rise, and a lot of that was helped by the movies and stuff. Once Iron Man came out in 2007 or whenever that was. Well, I don't remember when that was, but around that time, like right around Iron Man coming out, Spider-Man had already come out.
When Daredevil came out?
It wasn't when Daredevil came out. No. But Spider-Man had come out, and those had created a lot of buzz in the 2000s about comic books. So those were getting less nerdy. Even when I was in high school in the early 2000s, it was still like, oh, you're a fucking nerd if you read comics. And then around 2006-ish, is when it kind of started to change.
Yeah, it's like, well, I like comics.
Yeah, it's cool to like comics or whatever.
Yeah,
so
the big football guy's like, well, I read comics too.
Yeah, so this is like right before all that stuff that came out. That's like kind of a big boom that happened in the mid 2000s in comics. So
I'm appreciative of it though, because now there's like, it's what's his face, the Joe Mang, how do you say his last name, Manganiello?
Who?
The guy who plays Deathstroke.
Oh, okay, yeah. The guy from True Blood.
Yeah, because he is like epitome of like
Joe Italian.
I'm a buff, cool Italian dude, and he's like, oh no, man, I love comics. I play a D&D. Like, yeah. Like, and it's like it's like this is the saving grace of like, oh, it's okay. Everybody's coming together now. We're cool. Like, there's a lot of BS going out there in the world, but
it's all right.
It's like we can all come together with comics and fun characters, and
it's all right. I'll say this. So, like, when I went to Comic-Con in the 2000s. It was about comics mostly. Or like you could go and there's a giant DC booth and a giant Marvel booth and all your favorite creators are there. I met Len Wein, who created Swamp Thing, and I showed him my Swamp Thing tattoo and everything. And like, I was like, I fucking love you. And like, you changed my life. And he was like, you're weird, but like, I appreciate you or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then, you know, like things like that. Like, there's like a giant artist alley with like people that you know, like Kevin Eastman, who wrote the Ninja Turtles, would sit there at his desk, and you'd be like, hey, will you draw this for like $20? Like, sure. And he'll like do a sketch for you. And like, and now that's not happening. Like, you could not go. Everybody's got security. It's so packed. It's all about movies. There's not even like a DC booth or a Marvel booth anymore.
There are.
No, there's not.
There's not?
There's not. They're like, why have this? It's a DC movie verse now. It's a Marvel movie verse. They have no comic book stuff anymore.
At Comic-Con?
At Comic-Con.
Really?
Yeah, at San Diego Comic-Con.
I guess when I look up the stuff, I still look up some of the comic stuff, but it's hard because I'm also a big movie buff, so
right,
cool. So that some of that I guess goes to the wayside.
Yeah, so the San Diego Comic-Con and a lot of the Comic-Cons became the entertainment con, not Comic-Con. So I appreciate that it's popular and like, oh, you don't have to be scared to be a nerd anymore, but also I kind of miss being able to like go fucking talk about comics at Comic-Con or buy, like I found like every issue. That's like where I finished my Constantine run. That's where, or my Hellblazer run. That's where I finished, or like I found all those Mr. A comics from like Steve Ditko, just because like you could go buy comics at Comic-Con and shit. So stuff like that, like I don't think you can do anymore, because it's just so packed and so crowded with movies and stuff. So. Anyway, that's enough for me bitching about comic stuff. But Anyway, so back to the first issue of Infinite Crisis. I would say this is the weakest issue of all of them because it's the setup. It's the like we have to figure out like what's going on in this setup for new readers and everything. And I was telling John about this. So you got the Blackest Night guy in this. I don't know. This is like for later on people, but in the first issue of this, which is written by Jeff Johns, art by Phil Jimenez, came out in 2004, which is like 4 years before the Blackest Night happened. You have the setup for Blackest Night. There's a panel.
Yeah, that's a cool Easter egg.
Of what's his name? Is it Death Lantern or whatever? Death Lantern, yeah. He basically makes a big zombie thing. He like raises all these bad guys from the dead. But it was like he set it up. He set up his own book like 4 years ahead of time. Like, you know, it was cool. Anyway, so it's a side thing for anybody who likes deep cuts. But yeah, so like this issue is literally like just setting up. There's mysterious people in black who are watching many screens of like broken glass looking, and they're like, this world, like it fails like itself. Like so many bad things have happened that like shouldn't have happened and could have stopped. Things like you get like we said, like Superman dying, Coast City getting exploded, and then Green Lantern going bad and killing all the lanterns.
Wonder Woman snapping Maxwell Lord's neck.
Yeah, and even Identity Crisis. Like they're basically just like this world is so dark, and like Earth 2 was so happy and everything, and that's like the golden age Earth from Infinite Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then we see like basically OMAC goes out of control and someone's controlling it, and it starts just attacking heroes randomly. And yeah, basically like there's a lot of shit going on in this issue that kind of doesn't need to happen necessarily, but it's just kind of touching on things from Infinite or Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I think it was cool because it's also a setup of like some of the deaths in this one are graphic.
Very graphic. Like we're talking people getting their heads ripped off or punched through or bodies getting ripped in half. It is very like, holy shit.
Yeah, because in the beginning, you've got like, there's a lot of little fights breaking out, and you've got like the Teen Titans are fighting some people, and some of the OMAC creatures and whatnot, and like the Uncle Sam and the whatever those
characters, they're fighting Earth X.
A lot of them die. Let's just
they're like, let's get rid of these people.
Nobody cares about them.
Like literally, they were never used. I don't know why they even picked them to live. Maybe they thought they were going to use them or something in the 80s, but they never did. So then they never did anything. So, but yeah, so basically it's just like a bunch of fights break out. Some people die. You just see kind of like things are going on in space as well. Like the Thanagar. The Rand Thanagar War was happening at the same time, so like that's how they say like, oh, that's why Hawkman and shit aren't here. They're like they're just over there. Okay. So like it kind of gets some of these heroes away from everything going on. We also have Psycho Pirate shows back up randomly, and he's used a lot in this. So I kind of like that they brought him back as like a key person or whatever. But basically. We just see the main thing that happens is you see people watching this like broken glass looking screen, and then they reveal who it is, and what it is it's Superman from Earth 2, for the one that was trapped in like, or not, the one that decided to go in like the heavenly dimension at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's the old Superman. He's with his Lois, and there's. I thought it was just 3 people in there originally, but so there's Superboy Prime, and then we find out that actual Alexander Luthor from the future or from last issue, he's in there too. So there's 4 people in this universe, and they're like, basically, we could have saved all these people and all this stuff from happening, all these bad things. So we need to get out of there. And also at the same time, Lois is dying, so he's like, I need to save her. And I think if like we bring back the happy Earth 2. The Earth where everybody's nice and moral, the 50s, like basically the 50s Earth, we will, like, she'll be able to live, it'll be happy for everybody, and like everybody will be better. So Superman from Earth 2, fucking, he just starts punching the shit out of this wall of glass that is like I guess it's like a dimensional gateway or whatever that like it's holding him back. So he punches his way through it. He releases them. So now we get they're on their way to basically make them. He thinks just Earth 2 or whatever, but like basically make the multiverse kind of happen. And then issue 2 was kind of a setup for just understanding who like who Kara is, or who like Power Girl is.
And this is cool because I didn't know. I thought Power Girl was just a completely.
She's a clone.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that.
She is a clone, but she's a direct clone of Laura from, or Kara. Is it Kara? Kara from Supergirl from the original, from Earth 2. So she's the one who died in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And Power Girl, who you might know as the large-chested,
cut it, specifically
Superman-ish,
where the Superman logo would be a big cutout, so you can
see her cleavage.
Yeah,
she's very proud of him. Hey, she paid for him. Goddamn. But like,
I don't know.
But
this is definitely like a character from like created from like 90s sex appeal.
Yes, for sure. This I don't know when she was created, but it seems like the 90s would be the time.
Yeah.
But like, she is as powerful as Superman. She is a clone, we think, of, or like they don't say whether she is or isn't in this, but I think she's just a clone of that Laura or that Kara, and so she has all the same traits and everything and whatnot. And so yeah, that's this issue is basically about that. It's kind of like Superman from Earth 2, like since they just escaped, he comes up to her and he's like, "Oh my God, my long lost cousin! Like I'd recognize you. I'd recognize those anywhere." He doesn't say that. He said, "I recognize you anywhere." You know, he's an old man. He's a very proper moral person. Yeah. You know, so, but yeah, so like these people show up. Also, I'm not going to really mention this in the background, but there is like a society of evil that's like being made.
I thought it was the Legion of Doom, but yeah, I guess they're the society.
They keep calling them society, but they don't really do much. Too much.
They're
in
like
the background.
plotting something, but it's not really.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
not too much.
It's not the real true evil of like what is going on.
Right. So I'm not going to mention them more than just now.
The only thing we'll say is specifically is like there's a couple of them. There's like Lex Luthor. There's a couple big guys, and one of the people that they're like, what about? They're like, no, we're not bringing the Joker into this.
Yeah, they're like, what about this? What about the Joker? He's not in here. Like, yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we're not.
We don't want you. You're fucking crazy.
He's crazy, and we're just not going to mention it.
He's a wild card. He's too much of a wild card.
Exactly. So that's the only thing we'll say about
it.
And
the reason why like it matters at all is because this other Alexander Luthor is now in this universe. Lex Luthor, the evil one that we know, is like having a hard time thinking and stuff because their brainwaves are like canceling out.
It's like, oh man, why am I having a hard time thinking of evil plans?
Yeah, and so like that's kind of this issue was basically just like the introduction of that idea, and then like the idea that like what they're trying to do, what Superboy Prime and Superman from Earth 2 and
Alex Luthor
are trying to do is like create Earth 2 again and make it better. Like, so there'll just be 2 Earths now. It's fine. There's just 2. And they're trying to convince Supergirl or Power Girl of this. Like, you should join us. Look, we're not trying to do anything wrong. It's not evil or anything. We're just trying to make a second Earth, my home, our home, that's a better Earth, and it would stop all this stuff. And so one thing I liked about this a lot, this issue gives you the entire breakdown of Crisis on Infinite Earths in a very clear and very succinct way. Way better than like anything I've read other than because I read the like DC fandom wiki page or whatever on it, and this is like the quick everything that you need to know in a very succinct way. So I appreciate that they did that for everything. And you get the original artwork and everything from George Perez and stuff too.
Yeah, it was nice.
So it was cool. But yeah, so you get a whole breakdown of what Crisis on Infinite Earths was. So even if you didn't read or listen to our episode or read Crisis on Infinite Earths, you get like a breakdown. But it's issue 2 that you get that.
And they kind of hit a couple points. They hit like the death of Superman points. They hit like some of the other big things that have happened in there.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why they're saying like, oh, this is like the darkness that has come out. Like they thought this one Earth was going to be better. but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's why we need Earth 2 in there or whatever. So
and Kara gets like, because I guess she's a clone, she doesn't know or realize a lot of these things. She's talking to Superman, and she's like, I don't really know you. Like, I know you're Superman, but, and then so he takes her to see Lois, and like her and Lois touch hands, and like somehow,
all of her memories flood back to her.
Yeah,
whatever.
so that just kind of brings her up to speed on everything.
It just kind of quickly made everything, happen. And so in the meantime, OMAC is still going crazy. And what they are doing, they've assessed the main threat that needs to be eliminated is all of the Wonder Woman's, or all of the Amazons. Yeah. So they're like, these Amazons are like, barbarians or whatever, war people.
And OMAC, I guess part of it too that Batman helped with is that Batman's part of his contingency was he had a big like satellite computer thing in space.
Yeah.
And what did he call it?
I don't remember what he called it.
Big Joe.
Yeah.
It was something like we're gonna fight the big.
I don't know what he called it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now, but basically he like OMAC combined with his supercomputer, and that's partially why like they know where everything and everyone is now.
Yeah, so like it has all of Batman's information. Like we said, he was actually he was a creator part of it at least. And so now all the OMACs are attacking Wonder Woman's island and all the Amazons, and they're fighting. And like OMACs, everybody can see what's going on in their eye. Like, so there's millions of these OMACs flying over, attacking, and there's live footage of, remember, there's real humans inside of these OMAC things. So they're just like, their bodies have been taken over by like these cybernetic organisms or whatever. So there's real humans inside, and the Amazons are like, ha, like chopping people in half and shit. So there's like video of them murdering everybody in this. So like, that's not good for, what people want to see either. So like, it just gives you like a more reason for why it happens, like why they'd want to do this. Yeah. They're trying to get the reader on the side, I think, of like, or like understand why they'd want to have Earth 2 kind of thing.
Oh, one thing I want to mention just real fast. It's just a little snippet. When right before they go, they realize that, and they're gonna go get rid of the Amazons. You have Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. They were all on the Justice League satellite or whatever, and I guess they were like picking up pieces because it had been attacked, and Martian Manhunter had disappeared. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I want to mention specifically is this is kind of one thing where they're all like disillusioned, and it's like the darkness we've been talking about. How they're all like, well, I don't know about that. They're all brooding. Basically, all three of them are Batman in brooding mode right now, and they're like, "Well, I don't know about this. Like, well, I don't know. If like they're like talking to Wonder Woman. They're like, "Hey, Diana," and she's like, "Call me Wonder Woman." And they're like, "Oh, I thought we were on
first name terms."
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, the world doesn't need Diana. They need Wonder Woman." Again, that's the point I'm just making is they're all brooding. They're all very much like
they're on edge. Yeah.
But the only thing about it in particular is like, so they're all like, "Okay, we're gonna go to our own separate corners now," and specifically they're like, okay, so like this is where they're going to break apart and hopefully come back to their senses. But I love that Superman's like, yeah, we have to figure out how to like be inspiring again or whatever, and Batman's like, when's the last time you were inspiring, Superman? When you were dead?
Yeah.
Bat slam, just like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, the last time you inspired someone was when you fucking died.
I like the writing in this a lot. So that was just one thing I wanted to mention, is that they're all the heroes are on this dark brooding like, I don't know about this now, and like, so we gotta kind of figure out how to get everybody back together on a good page.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how issue 2 ends, and we see like basically they're trying to get us on board as the reader, and like they're trying to get Power Girl on board with them, and they're giving good reasons why, hey, we need an Earth 2. We need to stop like these bad things from happening. Look at your past. Like these things are horrible. And like we said, Identity Crisis had just happened like prior to this. So that's where like, people died for no reason, like just because, a woman was jealous or whatever for her husband or ex-husband or whatever, like literally killed the heart and soul of the old Justice League and stuff. And so, they're in a dark place anyway right now.
Yeah.
And also, we don't really know this offhand or whatever, but like, Bloodhaven is like this city that Nightwing that's where he fights out of. After he leaves Batman, he goes to Bloodhaven.
Okay.
And so like that's his city, and it's always like fucked up and weird. There's like I think stuff happened there, like explosions or something. I'm not 100%, but like everything I know about Bloodhaven is it's not a nice place to be at a certain point, and I believe that has already happened. So that's one of the other bad things that have happened. So everybody's kind of down and in a bad place in general as far as the heroes. Also, one thing we didn't mention, Jim Lee does all the covers for this. Really good covers.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciate his artwork. This is him like in Hush era, Jim Lee. So if you compare it to that, it's pretty good stuff. So, yeah, so issue 3 starts. We get a little, just barely a little bit of Aquaman for John. He's probably really excited, like, oh, this is going to be an Aquaman issue. And then it like leaves off.
Nope.
Nothing. Basically, it looked like the Spectre basically kills whatever was going on in Atlantis. So the Spectre shows up every now and then in this, and
it's because he's looking for like something to bond with, right? Is what they're saying. Like
he's because you have the Vengeance Spirit who's trying to find. No, it's like I don't know exactly what's going on. This is like I told you, the Spectre in Infinite or Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think I mentioned the Spectre was always this guy named Jim Corrigan, who's always a different guy named Jim Corrigan. It's not the same guy, but over the years he's always named Jim Corrigan, and this. They bring him back as a guy named Crispus Allen or something. I can't remember. Or Chris Allen or Chris Addix or something like that. I can't remember what his name is. Not Chris. Yeah, it's not Chris. No, that was someone else. But it's Chris Allen, I believe, or something. And he's just a cop that gets shot on the job. And so something happened where the guy that was Jim Corrigan, somehow that Spectre, when Hal Jordan became him and then unbecame him and everything, because this is after Rebirth Green Lantern. So okay. Green Lantern is not Spectre anymore.
Yeah,
Jim Corrigan is again, and I think he's mad that he got like put back or something. And so somehow he gets out, and that might not be in this book at all.
Well, there's something later that shows because there was a cop
that's the guy I'm talking about. That's Chris Allen or whatever.
Well, no, he was like it was like Jim Correll or something.
No, his name is Chris. He's a black guy, and he gets shot in the line of duty.
Line of duty, okay.
They're saying it should be Jim Corrigan.
Okay, maybe that's what I get.
Yeah, they're like, Jim Corrigan should be the guy, but it's not. It's this guy. That's weird. So that's why it was like confusing.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what happened with Spectre in this. It was kind of confusing. But he shows up and he just murders people. Like he's like, Avengers is mine, and like smashes all of Atlantis. And so he kills a bunch of people. And then like that's all that shows up. So So yeah, like we were saying, back to OMAC fighting all of Wonder Woman, or all of that whole island. Yeah, all the Amazons. Yeah, they have like this big cannon. They start mowing people down, killing people. Batman realizes his program has been corrupted because all of a sudden it says program truth and justice like activated or whatever. He's like, what? What's that? Like, and that's we find out through things that have been going on. Basically, Superman shows up and right as Batman like destroys the computer.
Earth 2 Superman.
Sorry, Earth 2 Superman, and he's like, hey, buddy. Like, I know you don't know me, but I'm old Superman. I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm just trying to make Earth 2, and that's what's going on with all this weird shit showing up.
Look, I know that your heroes here don't trust you as much, but if there's one thing I've done in my whole life, it's I trust Bruce Wayne. So you're with me, right?
Yeah. And so yeah, that's basically, like, he shows up. He tries to get Batman on his side. And then... in another part of town, this is only important just barely, but I think this is in Bloodhaven or somewhere like that. But the college that there's a kid. His name's Jaime Reyes, and he is about to go to college, and he's walking up to the building with his family, and then like another building explodes next to them because there's a bunch of fighting going on, and Superman saves it, and then he. I think it was Ted Kord's building or something that fell over.
Yeah.
And so, as part of that, in the rubble, Jaime Reyes finds some kind of scarab on the ground.
Blue scarab.
A blue beetle, you may call it.
Which is very small, but Booster Gold has been like going all around trying to find the scarab and trying to figure out how to either bring back Ted Kord or who the next Blue Beetle is.
Yeah, we should say in the Countdown to Infinite Crisis, one of the attacks was from like a brainwashed Black Adam, who's like basically Shazam.
Yeah.
And he's like an evil Shazam, but he tried to kill Blue Beetle because he was brainwashed by Psycho Pirate, and that power of like the lightning bolt coming down reactivated the scarab that Ted Kord had that was always like just not active from the original Blue Beetle. So it activated, and now it's actively trying to find someone to like bond with to be the next Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's been going around trying to fight it. Booster Gold's been like, "Where's this fucking scarab?" It was all like, lighty and stuff, and it started like acting weird after that thing. So he's been trying to find it, and it finds Reyes for it itself, I guess. And so back to in the means, the one thing I thought was cool, they give the whole like history of Huntress and like who she is, because in case you didn't know, she's from like Earth 2, I think, or something. Yeah. And so basically Huntress is old Superman explains to Bruce, he's like, "Look, Bruce, you should be on my side, because on Earth 2 you will get like, you might die, you might go away, but Earth 2 Batman, he like gets to like, he gets closure. He marries Selena. They have a child. Their child is Helena Wayne. She becomes the Huntress. Like, all these things are way better in my timeline or whatever. So like, you just let that shit happen."
And it's kind of cool the way he describes it, because he says that, and he's like, basically how all the heroes here, he's like, kind of explains, are like the antithesis, or like the almost like the corrupted versions of like what good heroes are on Earth 2. And specifically, the one thing that kind of gets him, because he's like, well, they all are. He's like, what about Batman's like, what about Dick Grayson? And he's like, well, Superman's kind of like, well, we don't know about him, or well, like, no, he's not.
He's not. He never has a bad. I don't think he ever comes or something.
I guess basically Superman's like, he's the only one. Like, well, I'm sorry, he would be the only one who's never bad, but like he would unfortunately be a.
Like he would just leave, like he would just evaporate or whatever. Yeah, that's like the only thing. But other than that, other than that,
man, you should definitely join me.
Yeah, and so because they're saying like Golden Age Batman didn't have Robin or whatever, kind of thing. So,
and Jaime's in Texas. I forgot that. I thought that was cool because it's in El Paso.
Oh, is that okay? So it's in El Paso.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, cool. He's a Texas.
He's a Texan. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Go Longhorns. Yeah. So
sorry, being Texas is more than Braves. Like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. It makes me want to read it more.
Sure. There you go. I enjoyed it, and me and John were talking about this is a great way to introduce a new character. Instead of just like killing off your favorite character like willy nilly, you have it mean something. You have it be part of a really big epic story, and then you introduce this kid who's like gonna be a part of this story a little bit. Have some fun with him. And then you got some readers that are interested in like what his powers are going to be, because they're different than the one before him or whatever. Yeah. So I thought this was way better than like some of the other introductions of characters where they just, hey, guess what? This person is smarter and better than the guy you liked, and checks all the boxes we want. So and
he is now so such as that.
Yeah, or they are whatever. So it's like, okay, cool. I don't know. So some of that just doesn't. It rubs me the wrong way. It rubs like. If your favorite character just like, oh yeah, fuck him or whatever, it's like, okay, thanks. That's just the guy I spent 20 years buying every book for or whatever. So I appreciate the way they did this, where like Ted Kord was onto something and no one would listen to him. It was fucking important, and then he gets killed because of it, and his death means something. God damn it! And then the powers of the Blue Beetle get reactivated, so it's not just a rich guy that's doing it like Batman or whatever. It'd be like if Batman had like a bat that came alive from like a witch doctor or something, but it never happened for him. It was the old Batman or something, and then he gets reactivated. It's like that kind of thing. So I appreciate that, and I read the Blue Beetle run after this, and it was fun. So yeah, anyway, back to issue 3. We got Wonder Woman. They're still fighting, and she's like, you know what? This isn't looking good. Everybody on TV is seeing us blow away all these people with this giant cannon. And she's like, you know what, girls? And I'm not exactly sure exactly what happens, but basically she's like, let's just pray to Athena, and she'll take the island into her god dimension or something. And so basically she prays to Athena, and Athena's like, yes, I will take your island and your people back.
Yep, but you're going to stay here, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, you have to stay here because you're bad or whatever. But like, everybody else can come back because they're actually pure, good people or whatever. So, so now it's just Wonder Woman on Earth. No more Themyscirans or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No more
Amazons. And so then we get like while Bruce is trying to, or like Earth 2 Superman's trying to talk to Bruce into saying, hey, like, just let us destroy your world. It only hurt a little bit, Bruce is like, no, and he like puts out his kryptonite ring and he's like, you didn't think I'd come unprepared. He's like, nah, but I'm from Earth 2 and your kryptonite isn't the same as our kryptonite, so it doesn't do anything. And so like he blows up the ring. And so like it literally doesn't do anything. And then you get like a face off between like they cut to a face off between Lex Luthor and Alexander Luthor because they meet and they're like, who are you? Like,
but Alexander Luthor also like makes himself appear to be Lex Luthor.
Right, like he like takes his form or whatever and like he captures him basically. And so we kind of see like Alexander Luthor is not like the greatest guy ever, and he even says not until the tower is ready after like some stuff happens. Like, what tower? What's going on?
What are you talking about?
Like they're alluding to all this shit. Like he's got a plan, and then so Power Girl's still thinking about it. She wants to do it, but she can't quite make herself. And then she's flying home, and she comes upon the tower, and the tower is. It's like it looks like the original devices from the Crisis on Infinite Earths that were keeping the Earth separate, but it's a giant one. It's holding the body of the Anti-Monitor in it. Like Alexander Luthor has like built this fucking thing, and he's using the power left over from the skeleton of the Anti-Monitor. And then on it is also you get Martian Manhunter. You get what's his name, Black Adam. I think Lady Quark's in there. Lady Quark actually does something in this book. Jeff Johns redeems her uselessness, and a couple other people that are from other Earths that he like pulled out of existence. And so
I guess they're helping power it.
Yeah, like he's using their power, like all these magical powers, and like then also the power of the skeleton of the Anti-Monitor. And we find out that what's really going on is Superboy Prime, who was in there with Alexander Luthor, and Alexander Luthor are bad guys. They want to like basically make a new world, not just Earth 2. They want to make a new world, and in doing so, what they want to do is make a whole multiverse, remake it so they can pick and choose. Oh, we like that Superman best. We like this Wonder Woman. Yep. We like that Matt. We like that John.
It is legit. This is what we're talking about. Like this is like the ultimate of like
playing God.
Yeah,
like,
and like
super fucked up.
Like yeah, we're just gonna pick what we think are the best ones of things, and the other ones we either assimilate or die. Like that's yeah.
Yeah, and so we get some more mayhem being caused by the Society of Justice at the beginning of issue 4. That's like they do the same kind of thing that they did in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they drop that giant chemical guy on a city, but it like blows the whole fucking city up, and it's crazy. Just stuff like that. They're causing mayhem and taking advantage of all this chaos that's going on. But we see like the real bad guys. Superboy actually takes Power Girl out because Superboy Prime is apparently very, 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 very strong. He is able to take her out. She is helping power this tower now, this device, along with Martian Manhunter and Black Adam and Lady Quark. And now they're like, we will explain our whole plan. And so basically, like I said, they have Psycho Pirate and everything on their side. They're trying to build this giant war or build this giant planet out of like all these people warring and causing havoc so that they can have the chance to make this multiverse and everything. So that's basically what's going on in this issue. There's some like other things that happen, like Lois Lane. She is the one from Earth 2 is like dying, and she's like, just take me to my planet or whatever. And he's like, soon we will, I promise. Because he's still blinded. He still thinks, oh, they're just going to make Earth 2.
Yeah.
And so he's away like hanging out with her. And when he's away hanging out with her, one thing that we didn't show was Superboy Prime has been watching the shit out of Connor Kent. And Connor Kent is the Superboy, I believe it's the Superboy from when the death of Superman happened, who is a clone. He's a clone. He had like the John Lennon glasses and the cool jacket.
Yeah.
I wanted to be him when I was like 9 or whatever. But yeah, like it's that Superboy from when Superman died, and there was like 4 Superman that took over his place. One of them was the Superboy that came out of nowhere, and I believe that is Connor.
He's like a clone. He's got Clark Kent DNA and Lex Luthor.
Yeah, so he's like a mix of both or whatever. And he's been on the Teen Titans and stuff. He's like probably the head leader of the Teen Titans right now. So he's like grown up in the last like 10 or 15 years as part of like being the good guys. Even though he's like a clone with some Luthor DNA or whatever. But Superboy Prime is not okay with this guy. He's like, man, I would be way better. And
I'm way better Superboy than him.
Yeah, and so he's like, you're not Superboy. I'm the real Superboy. You're just a stupid clone or whatever. And so
he goes down. He's like, let's fight.
Yeah, and so they fight. And you already knew Superboy was evil, Superboy Prime. But he kicks Crypto, the dog. And I was like, you son of a bitch.
I know. Crypto comes in to help the black shirted Superboy, and Superboy Prime is like, hey, Crypto, fuck you. And yeah, he like pulls him off of him and kicks him across like, I don't know, like the whole city or something. Like, but it was horrible. And he even says like, yep. I was like,
yeah. And we should say that, okay, so the reason why he says the black shirted Superboy, so that is Connor. He now wears like a black shirt with an S on it and jeans.
Yes. Just
regular, stuff. And then the Superboy Prime is the one that's in like the, old school spandex, blue, regular Superman.
Yeah, he looks like he's wearing Superman's old uniform.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're fighting and they're beating the shit out of each other. They're like causing real havoc too in this city. And basically the Teen Titans come to his aid and they're like, you will not fight our Connor, we'll protect him or whatever. And Superboy Prime is like, fuck you. And so this is where we also cut to like the morgue, and this is what I was talking about with Spectre. They say like, man, this guy survives a meteor shower and one of those superheroes crashing into the hood of his car, only to get shot with by a Glock or whatever. And so she said, she thinks a cop killed him. And he goes, who? And she says, Jim Corrigan. So a cop killed this guy. And this guy is Chris Allen, who is then raised. He's like so pissed off at Jim Corrigan. He's the guy who becomes the Spectre. So that's what I was talking about. It's a little convoluted. He's like in and out of, it's like weird things happen because he like, half becomes him and then it'll like go back into his dead body. So like I wasn't sure exactly what was going on or which one was the Spectre and which one was him.
Yeah.
But like we said, we cut back to Superboy Prime.
And he's like legitimately killing some of the Teen Titans.
He just, I don't know. It seems like at first he didn't realize how strong he was. Like he's used to fighting now just Superboy regular.
Yeah.
Connor. And so he punches one of these Teen Titans' heads off. He punches her head off.
Yes.
And it's like like a cheetah girl. I don't know who she is. But she's like, man, he's just a stupid kid. And he's like, I'm not stupid. And he like turns around and backfists her and her head flies off. He's like, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. And they're like, oh my God, did you see what he said? And then they're like, he's like, stop being mean to me. And then he's like, why are you making me? And he's just tearing the Teen Titans apart. I literally
just imagine him crying the entire time, be like, why are you making me do this to you guys?
And he's literally
rip off an arm, punch through some.
Yes, he's ripping off arms. He is cutting people in half with his hands. I would love to
see this animated.
Yes, this would be amazing animated. This would be a good one. And before he can do any more damage, a bunch of flashes. We're talking Bart Allen, Jay Garrick, Wally West. They get together. And they push him into the Speed Force. So they're trying to trap him in this Speed Force zone so that he can't do anything more to hurt anybody. And Barry Allen's still dead at this point. So it's Bart Allen, not Barry Allen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like we see all this stuff happen.
And I guess Wally West is like, I'm gonna get trapped in here with him or die or something.
He doesn't die. I don't know exactly what happens.
But
he's
like
just lost in the Speed Force.
He like takes his family with him. He's like, he goes while he's running through the Speed Force. He tells his family like, "Hey, I'll miss you guys," and they're like, "No, we're coming with you." And it was a little weird, but they like zap with him, and then it's like the Speed Force.
Yeah, and so as part of, we cut back to Superman to Earth 2, and Lois is dying, and he's like, no, we have to like do something. And then we see like OMAC says protocol watchtower confirmed, and then like all the OMACs fly over the where the tower is in the Antarctic or whatever, wherever Superman's fortress is, and Psycho Pirate goes to talk to Black Adam, and he's like, "Hell, you're so scared. You just need to say your favorite word. Say your favorite word." And Black Adam's like, "Shazam!" And then he's like controlling him or whatever. So this leads into something later on that I wanted to say that because he is making Shazam do all this, or Black Adam do all this shit.
He is specifically like mentally torturing Black Adam. He's like, "Oh, you're scared, big guy, huh? You're scared."
Yeah, you're a big scaredy cat, huh? Scared. Also in this, they I believe we get a new Firestorm. I'm not 100% exactly what happens. Something happens to Firestorm, and he like separates, one of his sides dies, and then he becomes like he absorbs someone else or whatever. So it's kind of a thing I'm not 100% on, but basically once that tower is initiated and it comes up, we get Earth 2 appears.
Earth 2.
And Superman 2 is like, "Oh my God, Lois, it's there. We can go.
We did it.
We did it." And it's cool. I like the way they show it. You see Earth, like Earth now has a view of Earth, which is a cool thing. They're like right next to each other in space. And you can see it like in the horizon in between like the moon or whatever. So I like the way they showed it.
Yeah, the panels are really cool. Every time from here on, as like there's like the Earth is shifting or they're like creating these other universes, all of those panels are really cool, very well done. And it's cool because, and you can correct me on this, but it looks like hand-drawn and then some of the Earth stuff looks digital, and having those together, if it's not digital,
I don't know. It could just be two different artists or something.
Whatever two artists they got, the styles are so cool together. They make it look so unique.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, there was really good art in this, and then sometimes there was like someone
mediocre.
They probably just had to get that page in.
But this in particular, where like I said, where they're doing the creation of things, those were really unique panels. I never seen anything like that.
It was very good. They did a really good job of like explaining what was going on, like visually. So yeah, Earth 2, Superman, he brings Lois there.
What was the church scene about?
I don't know. I
thought that was weird for me too. Like all these heroes gather at
this church. But I thought everybody was like in battles and stuff. I don't know. There's some weird stuff that happens. I don't know what this is. So
yeah, that's fine. I just want to make mention.
This is one of those things that I'm like, I'm not going to mention it because I have no idea what it was.
I mentioned it because it was weird. Okay. We'll move on.
There's some weird stuff, like we said. But yeah, anyway. So now Earth 2, Superman, he's alive.
Oh, you know what? I bet they think it's end times or something because the other Earth appears and they're like, "Oh no."
Yeah. And so Earth 2, Superman's around with Lois. He's like, look, honey, like wake up. We're here. Like you're gonna be fine, just fine. And she's like, "But I'm still dying because dying doesn't stop on Earth 2." And she's like, "Oh, but we saved you." And she's like, "Not quite." And then we cut to Batman's Batcave, and Booster Gold has now like contacted Jaime Reyes, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, you're Blue Beetle now. We need your help. I think we're gonna need the Blue Beetle because another thing that Booster Gold has that other people don't is he has history records because he's from the year 3000 or whatever, so he knows what's gonna happen about certain things. So he's like, okay, I know this happens." Like, I know you're going to be Blue Beetle, and I know that you're supposed to help out somehow in this thing. So I need
you come with me.
Yeah, you got to come with me. I'm going to introduce you to the team. You get to know Batman. We're going to show him to you and everything. So
I like that. And Jaime is like, what? I don't know. I'm just a kid.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, right as he says that, like his like beetle activates and he turns into like, you see the costume for the first time, and it's like a whole like suit that comes out of his back that like goes around him. So it's kind of like the suit is the organism or whatever around him.
Yeah.
And so like you can't even see his face or anything. So it's very good like disguise costume and whatnot. But yeah, so back on Earth 2, Lois and Superman are like, Superman from Earth 2 are talking, and they're remembering, like, oh, remember at the Daily Star, because over there it's called the Daily Star. Remember that one time you and me and Jimmy did this? And she's like, oh, I remember, Clark. And then she's like, I love you so much, Clark, but this isn't. And then she like starts to pass out. Basically, it seemed like she was having a stroke or something. But basically, she dies.
She dies in his arms.
In his arms. And then you have the exact same frame, which I liked a lot. You have the exact same frame and shot from Crisis on Infinite Earths when Supergirl died, and he has her body. He's got Lois's body this time, though. And he's like, no, and he's crying. And then Earth 1 Superman hears this yell and cry, and he's like, I am going to show up over there. And Earth 2 Superman does not want that Superman. So right as he shows up, he's like, you did this. You corrupted everything. She was supposed to live, but your stupid Earth corrupted our Earth, and now that's why death is here or whatever. And so you get like a lot of things like that going on, like where the Superman, I guess, thinks that because like our Earth is now in the same universe as Earth 2, it's corrupted. It was fine on its own separate universe, but now that they're together in the same universe, it's corrupted. So he gets all pissed off. He starts fighting Superman. There's also another iconic page shot where there's the iconic him picking up a car and stopping a bad guy.
Yeah, it's action. It's the first one, right?
But this is Action Comics #1. It's like that cover where Superman was picking up a car and like throwing it at someone, except he's throwing it at the Earth 1 Superman, which is pretty fun.
It was a fun.
And he says, "You killed my wife," and so he's freaking out. They start tearing up. Like, I mean, they're murdering so many people in this metropolis of Earth 2, but they're killing everybody. And then we see like there's 2 Wonder Women. Like the Wonder Woman from Earth 2 shows up because she's like, "Oh, I'm back," and she like meets up with Wonder Woman from Earth 1 and like reminds her of who she is.
Yeah, like, you're not only Wonder Woman, you are It's funny, it does the opposite. Like, you are Diana, and you need to remind people, that you need to get in touch with your human side again.
Yeah. And she's like, you need to remind people that everyone makes mistakes, even Superman. And then as she's looking at like a whole city burning or whatever, like there's so many cities just fucked in this book. But yeah, Superman and old Superman are fighting, and she shows up with her lasso of truth and hooks old Superman. He's like, I don't need this lasso to tell the truth. In my Earth, we always tell the truth. And she's like, no, that's not true. Like, Lois died, not because of our Earth corrupting. It's just like shit happens. And he was like, basically there's like this whole scene where he's like, Earth would be perfect if it just had us on it. And he's like, no. Earth 1 Superman's like, no, Earth would be perfect if it didn't have any superheroes. Like, it just needs to have humans, and then big shit like this wouldn't happen so often. And he's like, you're right. Mine was never perfect. And then Superman 2 calms down, and he's like, he runs away basically to go somewhere. We don't know where exactly, but he runs away. Then we see now Alex or Lex Luthor the third or whatever, the one for Alexander Luthor. Yeah. He is now like a fucking god. Like, he has so much power. He is like, I will make my own Superman though if you won't listen to me. And he starts trying to like originally he, like we said, he's gonna like pick his own Superman out, so he's got to have the multiverse. So he like remakes the multiverse. And you see all these, but it's not like they're in their own verse though. They're all in the same verse. He makes all the Earths in our universe. So
yeah, and they're all lined up together. So like, it's really causing some havoc.
Yeah, and so like, there's all this crazy shit going on. All these Earths are together. They're all running into each other, and fucking like sparks happening in between them and stuff. And he's like, I will pick the best one, and like, just crazy shit's going on. And out of nowhere, the Flash, like, just in Tokyo, appears, and he's like, oh my god, I have to warn them, he's got away. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, him. And he points, and we see the next page is Superboy Prime. He's got basically Monitor armor on, looking, and he looks fucking evil, and he is there to kick some ass. So that's like what this issue is about, him kicking ass. the multiverse is now inhabited, and they're like, we need to find like all the heroes now are together with Batman. They have Jaime Reyes, the new Blue Beetle, and they're trying to find where the main like tower is from. And they're like, Blue Beetle's the only one who can see it.
Yeah, his
technology or whatever. Yeah, his suit is the only thing that can see it. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, guys. I don't see. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it was great.
Like, he doesn't know his powers at all yet. So like, he's like, I don't know why you think oh, there it is, right there. Never mind. So like he can like, we're getting like his power set. We're understanding some stuff, and so, but what's going on is basically. Alexander Luthor is like going to each multiverse and like, no, not that one, no, not that one, no, not that one. He's like going through each of the Earths, just like trying to find like the right Superman and the right Batman.
And it's cool because like it'll show like the Earth and like there's heroes and things on it, and then like the sky like opens up this like big kind of like purpley portal, and there's just giant gold hands come in.
Yeah, so like Alexander Luthor's hands come through space and time, and he's like, that one, you know, like, and he's just like picking little people up or whatever.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I like the way they visualize it in this, as opposed to it made you understand it a little bit better, I think.
Yeah,
as opposed to Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they were like, we're telling you what's happening, but it's so weird and cosmic and like timey-wimey, all that stuff or whatever. Like, it just doesn't quite translate if you don't show it on the page perfectly. So, but yeah, and then this is one of my favorite scenes, so I'm going to show it. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But all the like magical people, they like meet at Stonehenge, and they're like, we're going to call back, you know, the Spectre because he's gonna save us like he did in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And so they do that. They like, it's like Zatanna and her dad and everybody, and like Deadman and everybody. They call Spectre there, and Spectre shows up, and then we're talking everybody magical. So even like bad people who are magical, and they're like, hey Spectre, remember me? We need your assistance. It's me, Phantom Stranger. And they're like, he's ignoring you. And then Spectre turns to Starfire, and he's like, Starfire, you have terrorized and enslaved men across the universe. You have tortured and caused hundreds of deaths. Vengeance must be had. And he like dissolves her. Yeah. And he's like, oh my God. And so like, he just basically kills a bunch of bad guys that are there and then like goes away. And like, shit, this was a bad idea. And so then Connor Kent has recuperated, and he's coming back. That's the Superboy from Earth 1. And he comes to save Power Girl and all the other humans that are powering the satellite.
Him, Nightwing, and who's the blonde
Wonder Girl.
Wonder Girl.
So that's his girlfriend.
That's his, yes. Okay.
And so
I got that they had a thing, but I just didn't know who she was for sure.
Yeah. She's like, I didn't read anything with her, so I'm not exactly sure on her origins.
Wonder Woman's niece or
something
related
something
somehow.
Like that. She's from Themyscira, probably.
Gotcha.
And so while the main big superheroes are showing up to defeat like the OMAC satellite and all that shit, we get that's what they needed to see. We had Superboy, not Prime, just the regular Superboy, Connor, and Nightwing and Wonder Girl. They show up to save the heroes that are powering the Monitor or the Anti-Monitor tower. So, or I guess it's Superboy and
or Alex Luthor and Superboy's tower. But yeah,
but yeah. So they're saving everybody while like Alex Luthor's kind of like going around trying to like he actually goes like, yeah, I'm not finding the perfect ones, so like maybe if I like meld them together.
Oh yeah, when he's like pushing two Earths together.
It's an amazing shot where it's not two Earths, he takes like multiple Supermans and starts like merging them. He's like, my dad from Earth 3 and Earth 1 Superman, Earth 2 Superman, some other Superman, and like let's put them together, see what happens. So he's like trying to like merge these Supermen together. And that's where you get, this is like where he starts to lose his powers, because as he's doing that, he's distracted, and we see superheroes, all the ones that can change matter. So you get like Firestorm and like Captain Atom and other ones like that. They're like, let's change, what do they say? They like say, they say like, oh, his hands are made up of matter and antimatter, so let's change everything that we throw at him into raw positive matter. So that's why they shoot him in the hands with like all positive matter, and it starts draining his powers. And then he like realizes what's going on at his tower. He like turns around, he's like, oh shit, like they're setting all these superheroes free. So they have set free Nightwing and Connor Kent have set free Martian Manhunter, Power Girl, Quark, and the other people that I don't know from that were powering.
The other heroes.
They were powering the satellite, and Black Adam.
Oh, they're specifically like Superboy's like, should I let go Black Adam out of here? And they're like, yeah, I might as well.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, whatever, you know. He's a bad guy, but it's
and this is the best part.
And so this part was like super fucked up. But yeah, this is the death of Psycho Pirate. Psycho Pirate walks up to Black Adam and is like, "You're feeling so scared like you always were." And Supergirl, or not Supergirl, but a Power Girl, you're feeling so angry, so very, very, very angry. You should fight someone and like take on Connor Kent. And then like while he like looks at Black Adam, he's like, "You're feeling afraid." And then Black Adam puts out his eyes. And then, like, continues to push through his face. So he pushes his eyes and mask through Psycho Pirate's head. So, like, Psycho Pirate is dead for sure, 100%.
For sure.
There's no way you live through that. There's an eyeball that pops out and brains.
This is the best thing. Power Girl's like, oh, was that necessary?
He's like, absolutely. No more silly faces. And so yeah, they were sick of Psycho Pirates controlling them, and they killed him for that.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and so now we got Black Adam who's mad, and he's like, and he's supposed to be super strong because obviously Superman's weakness has always been magic.
Yeah.
But not this Superman. This is Superboy Prime, and he doesn't have weakness to magic. So I thought this was funny. Like at first, Black Adam's like, I will beat you, child," and then he's fighting him, and he's like punching him with the magic, and he's like, "No, not the magic. The magic hurts." He's like, "Actually, it tickles." And then he's like, "What?" And he starts fighting Black Adam, no problem, knocks him out. And then you get Connor and Superboy Prime, and they start fighting. And that's where like the really big death, I think, that hits everybody hard in this is you get Connor. Connor actually gets while fighting Superboy Prime, he gets killed, and that's like the death of Connor Kent. And I don't think he's come back since then. I can't remember him in any comics, but yeah, he's like he dies basically because Superboy Prime like grabs Cassie's face, Wonder Girl's face, and that's Connor's girlfriend. He's like, "Don't you fucking touch her," because he can like crush her head in his hand or whatever. So he like basically goes 1-on-1 with him, and then like he kind of dies like. He dies taking him out in the tower.
He pushed him through the tower, and does he like fly him into the sun?
No, that's just like that. That's like the Earth's converging into one new Earth.
Oh, okay.
So all the multiverse as he crashes him through the tower, like killing, like going through Anti-Monitor's old body, and like now the tower is powered, but it's not really like full powered anymore. All the Earths collapse into one Earth again. It's called the New Earth, and we see that Connor didn't live too well through that. He gets stabbed through a bunch of rebar and shit. I'm not sure how the rebar stabs through him, but maybe he was so like weakened or something that he gets crushed by everything, and maybe a whole Earth fell on him. I don't know. But in that whole collapsing of universes, he gets killed, and that's like the big death that happens in this book.
Yeah.
So then the Green Lantern Corps and stuff, they get called to like help because Superboy Prime takes off to Oa because he's like, I'm gonna go smash through the middle,
the center of the universe.
Yeah, and like smash Oa, and that's gonna start a new Big Bang, and that's gonna create multiverse again and everything.
Yeah.
And so we get like that, but also like Lex or Alexander Luthor, he gets like depowered and taken out.
So he gets depowered. So then he like gets all the villains. Or
basically he gets all the villains. Like all the villains, I guess have been freed or something from all the Earths, and so like they all start wreaking havoc as they do, and like Bane's like brain smash.
Yeah, Bane's like breaking people's back. It was fun. Like there were cool panels. Bane's like, I'm gonna break everyone's back. That's what I do. And
yeah. But now Alexander's become like unpowered. Yeah, Doomsday comes, but he gets beat the fuck out of which is pretty cool, by Earth 2 Superman, who's like, I didn't realize that Earth 2 Superman, I guess because he's older, he's like, I'm strong and old.
Yeah, like he's like both the Superman go, but Earth 2 Superman is like, nah, you're done, Doomsday.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. And then he like punches him in the face. But yeah, so basically Earth Prime Superboy is flying to Oa to like start a new Big Bang, and he is like being fought off by like all the Green Lanterns and everything, and they're trying to capture him. They're not doing a very good job, but they're able to eventually get him like down and hold him because they like put him through a red sun after like I guess they take him back to like Krypton where Krypton blew up, and now there's a red sun there, and he's like, haha, your kryptonite from this Krypton doesn't hurt me, and they're like, yeah, we weren't really talking about that, we just want to like destroy your armor in this red sun. So they push him through a red sun, which I guess depowers him because it's like the red sun, right?
Yeah.
And so they push him through that. It destroys his armor, and he flies into was it Mogo? Is that the name of the planet? There's a planet that's a Green Lantern. You heard me right. There is a planet that is an actual Green Lantern. So I think it's Mogo or Mojo or something. They fly into it, and both Supermen are fighting him now, and like they're taking him on, but they're the only ones that can like really fight him, and he beats the fuck out of old Superman, like Superboy Prime does, which is surprising. And then you get Earth 1 Superman, who is affected by the kryptonite on here, so he's getting weaker and weaker. He's actually able to take him out right before he like falls down and like weakened or whatever. So he's like, gives him the old Jack Johnson and then like 1-2 punch.
I love that they're and then the fight was cool. They were like fighting, and he's like, you know what? I know I'm Superboy, but eventually I'll beat you both, and I'll be the new Superman.
Right.
And Superman 1 is or from Earth 1 is takes his
kryptonite rock or whatever.
And like bashes Earth Superboy Prime, and he's like, you'll never be fit to wear the S, and he takes it on his shirt and rips off the S off of the chest of Superboy Prime's spandexy outfit.
Right.
And it was just cool. Like they just like adding levels of like not just like physical defeat but mental defeat for him. Yeah,
that's so he's like basically he's mentally defeated by that. And he's saying they're kind of like equal, this younger Superman and him. And so basically Earth 1 Superman's able to give him the old 1-2, knocks him out, which allows the Green Lanterns to encapsulate him with all their fucking rings and everything and keep him from like breaking free. And so we get a nice death scene of Earth 2 Superman here too, because he got the shit punched out of him by Superboy Prime. So he's like, oh, I finally understand. Like, I'll always be with Lois out there somewhere. And then you get this nice little panel of old school looking Lois and old school looking Superman, and they're like looking at each other all smiley and stuff.
Yeah, and it was cool. It looked like almost like the 50s art. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. So, that's basically like now it's like Earth's fine, or Earth's back to just being one Earth again.
Basically, the last cool thing was like Superman or Batman having his moment on Earth too, or on Earth as well.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because like he's helping fight the bad guys down there, and it's like him and Nightwing and like some of the other Bat family comes.
Yeah, and Nightwing gets zapped by someone, I can't remember who.
They're like all fighting Deathstroke, and then like somebody's like, I'm gonna shoot Batman, and Nightwing's like, no, and jumps in the way, and you think Nightwing's gonna die. We find out he's gonna be okay, but like it like takes.
It looked like he was.
It looked like it, and so like Alexander Luthor's like oh, like I'm losing my power, but that's who it was. It was Alexander Luthor.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he shoots him with a beam, and the beam doesn't really kill him.
Yeah, but that's because we find out he's been losing his power from being overpowered from all the positive energy.
Yeah.
So like he's fighting, but Alexander Luthor is like, oh crap, like I'm obviously not as powerful anymore. So Alexander Luthor splits, Batman's like, they take him down, and Batman's like on top of him, and he picks up a gun and he's like holding it at his head.
Yeah, he was about to shoot Alexander Luthor in the head.
Yeah, and then that's when Diana shows up,
and she's like, "Don't do it, Bruce. You're better than that." He's like, "Yeah, I am," or whatever. But like, you son of a bitch! Like, I really want her though, and so like he lets him live. And so now
and he like slips away, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he just gets away somehow in the confusion of all the Earths and everything. But he doesn't get away from someone because now it's like you see like, you know, a day later or whatever, and you see like Hero saves the Earth. You know, bunch of global catastrophes, you know, all okay now. And like Alexander Luthor is in a trench coat and he's like, this just gives me more time to make more calculations to begin my next plan. I will make this place brighter. It will be perfect. And then he turns around and he starts hearing laughing, and we see the Joker shows up. He's like, who's there? And then like basically the Joker's pissed still from not being invited to partake in this plan. And so he uses his shock pin or whatever that like electrocutes you to electrocute Alexander Luthor,
and then also acid from his flower.
Yeah, and then he shoots him in the head, and then he's like, "Who's stupid now, boy?" Because Lex Luthor shows up and he's like, "Haha, like that'll be the last time he underestimates us, right, Joker?" And he's like, "Who's stupid now, boy?" As they shoot him in the head, so he dead. Alexander Luthor
dead.
Yeah, and so don't gotta worry about him anymore.
All the heroes are like, yeah, we're gonna be good heroes again. They all they all get out of their broody moment. They're like, we know what we need to do now and be.
We'll change. We learned our lesson. Don't worry. We're gonna be happy.
There will never be another crisis again.
Cut to 4 years later. So then we cut to Oa.
To the very end.
The very end of this comic is we're on Oa. We got the Green Lantern Corps. They're surrounding this box, and they're like, "Do you think it's enough? Do you think it'll hold?" And they're like, "We pray it does."
Do they put it in the red sun?
It's in the red sun. In the middle of the red sun, all these Green Lanterns have to hold a shell around it, and they have to hold a box in the middle of the sun, which is green, and that is holding Superboy Prime, who has now taken off his shirt and carved an S into his skin.
It's all bloody and creepy.
Yeah, and he says, "I've been in worse places than this, and I've gotten out." And he's got this creepy fucking smile on his face. So that is the end. That's how it ends, very menacingly, with Superboy Prime just sitting and waiting in a box.
And that's how you do that. That's a great tease for like, oh fuck, like it's not really over. At least, I mean, it is for now. But like, obviously, even if we didn't know that tease is enough to be like, oh fuck, like something's gonna happen down the road.
Yes. So yeah, this was like super fun to read. Like I said, every issue it started off slower because it's got to introduce all these big concepts and ideas and moments. But at least in this, I felt like every time they introduced someone, for the most part, it was for a reason. Unlike the other one where they'd be like, "Here's Lady Quark. Let me spend 5 pages on her introducing what she is and who she is and why she's here," and then like never do anything with her. They'd introduce someone and there'd be a reason for it or whatever, you know? So, or they'd kill someone off just to get rid of them and then we don't have to worry about them, kind of thing. It was like they were managing the entire cast well. So Jeff Johns, you are one of the best writers. Big fan. You should come on our podcast. We'll talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, let me call him up. We'll get him on here one of these days.
We'll definitely talk Blackest Night as well, because that was one of the first big stories I read getting back into comics.
Yeah.
And that was friggin' amazing.
Yeah, Blackest Night is what we were talking about with the Death Lantern, where he brings people back from the dead.
But like this crisis, this has been the best crisis that I've read so far, and like this is like, oh man, I like DC Comics more.
Yeah, this is like, oh, I get it now. I get some of the stuff now. Now I'm part of the crew. Like I'm in the gang. Whatever,
yeah, that's true.
Like,
I feel like I could be like, yeah, I'm a fan of DC Comics now.
Yeah,
like I know. I feel like I know just enough.
Oh, you mean like when Psycho Pirate died?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Black Adam killed him, it's like all this shit now, like all this backstory. So you're starting to feel like you're part of the club, and that's it feels cool to be a DC kid.
It does, and it's funny because like when you're like, I read comics, you can tell the true comic people because you're like, well, what do you read? You're like, oh, I like Marvel comics, blah blah blah, and they're like, you should read DC Comics like a real comic.
Yeah.
Lover.
Yeah, let's judge him. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. That is what it's felt like to be your friend for over 10 years.
What are you talking about? I've never judged your comics. I am a let read, all right? I enjoy all comics.
Except you were like, oh yeah, he reads DC Comics, Aquaman. That loser.
That's just because it's Aquaman. That's not because it's DC.
He's
that's
fun.
It's not enough DC. I mean,
Aquaman was Aquaman is the
tease.
Marvel introduction to DC because he's fun and lighthearted and goofy.
It's a fucking with you thing, all right? I don't really care. I would never. If you want to read Aquaman, you go ahead. That's fine. Everybody needs to get into comics somehow. I just want people to read comics. But there's no gatekeeping here. But I will say DC gatekeeps itself. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I say like you're one of the club now, because there's so much continuity that when you finally read this stuff, you're like, oh, things start clicking and putting it. Now I know where this comes from and where that came from and who this is and what that person does, and like things like that. Once those start clicking, DC becomes like a really cool universe. Like I said, it gatekeeps itself. It's not like easy to get into, but once you get into it, it's fun. So, yeah. On that note, what would you give this one, John?
I think overall, I'm going to give this one. I'm going to give it an 8. It is solid. It was a really fun read. Most of the art was pretty fantastic, and like I said, there were still even though there's a little bit that it's like, okay, we need to get this finished, but some of the art, like I said, was really fantastic, and some of it was something I had never seen before. Like I said, maybe it wasn't digital and hand drawn, but however the two styles that came together was really cool.
I don't know how they did it. Maybe it's all digital for sure because it's like 2004. But
okay, well,
just a matter of like how they colored it or something. I don't know, but
either way, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely like. This is when I'd be like, yeah, you should totally read Infinite Crisis. Like that was a lot of fun.
I don't know if I'd tell someone to pick this up as their first DC book, but for sure, if you like DC stuff and you've read like like you could have read this probably before Crisis on Infinite Earths, because they do the whole backstory in it.
Yeah.
So like you can pick it up and have a fun time reading it. Like still, even with not
maybe
having
you wouldn't
that
have
much.
all of the little Easter eggs that are in this. But, but definitely, I think you could still comprehend what was going on.
Yeah. So you're gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. And this actually, because this makes the stuff on Crisis on Infinite Earths better, I'm gonna give Crisis on Infinite Earths a 6.5 from last week. So
moving it up
a half, a half point, just because this was so good that it pulled that along. Yeah. And so, but yeah, this is a really good story. This is like the beginning of Jeff Johns' takeover of the DC, universe. Some people like it, some people don't. I get it. Everybody got their thing. Everybody got their flavors or whatever that they like. So I like it a lot.
I'm a Jeff Johns fan.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, everything.
I've read so far.
I mean, he wrote, the best Green Lantern run I've read. I love the whole Rebirth and like 2000s Green Lantern run, and then the whole like Sinestro Corps War and all that stuff is very, very good. So on that note, next week we're going to be reading Final Crisis.
Final.
And that will be the end of our Crisis run. We'll get back to some Marvel stuff and whatnot, or some indie stuff. Yeah. So, but hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Let us know. If you guys got any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel for exclusive content. We got some new hardcover reviews coming out.
We keep promising this. We will.
It's coming.
We've been busy with the holidays, so some of my Swamp Thing episodes have been a little delayed. They will get back on track. We'll put them back in track on Wednesdays like they used to be. And
New Year, new content.
Exactly. There you go. That's our resolution. So we'll see you guys next time
on the next one.
Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.